Salutations. Alright, I'm a little bit hyped about this subject for a change. I'm pretty hyped about this. I want to make sure I convey the information correctly. Alright? It concerns this Urantia book also. And something I had to do is put my personal prejudice and my personal bias against this book aside and look at the information. Alright? Look at the data that might be in there. I've already expressed several times I have a problem with, I believe that the racial section of it is completely skewed and not telling the truth. That would also apply to this topic here, but there's other information surrounding this that needs to be really addressed. All right. And what this is going to be is something concerning specifically. Oh, I want to say something else about this too. Before a lot of people start thinking that they're going to start coaching me on this, and I'm just going to say this. I'm not brand new to any of this. I'm not brand new to this book. I first read this book in 1990, given to me by a musician named Sterling. I was still in high school. Now, I will admit it took me about a year to read this book and thoroughly go through it again and make sure I digested the concepts and really understand the information they're relaying. So it wasn't that simple. It took me about a year. And since then, I went through it several times just because there's certain things I thought were good about it. So please don't send me messages like I'm just brand new to this and I don't understand the material or I have not comprehended it. That's not the case. Anyway, outside of that, all right, let's go to what's important here, all right? This is concerning the Adam and Eve section in that book, which I believe starts on 428, 820. You can look that up in the book. It's the Adam and Eve section of the book. And what they're actually saying about Adam and Eve, it differs from the Bible a little bit in what they're saying that Adam and Eve gave you a year that they were sent here, and also that they were called them biological uplifters, and also called them material son and material daughter in the line of spiritual beings, all right? Yielding or having an origin of what's called Urantia, which is supposed to be our constellation headquarters. An architectural spear, which means a spear that's made perfect in architect and very interesting. All right. Now, when looking at Urantia, they say that there are actually 700, that it's 100 times the size of Earth. It has 70 moons, and that it is one of 771 architectural spears that is around, I believe, our galactic center, somehow orbiting close to our galactic center. That's my understanding of the location, all right? So what I want to do is just doing what they're saying about that. They also, in that book, talk about, look through that section of how Adam and Eve went through a whole training to learn how to be biological uplifters for the programs here, all right? And how they had to go through all these things to be these biological uplifters. And how they were not calling them the first people, but that the current Homo sapien model, whatever that was then, had maxed out, and they send the material son and daughter to help give biological uplifting. And for this planet, according to this book, it's very important because each inhabited planet also has what's called a planetary prince that they said in this book is called Caligastia. And when he was non-corporeal, he came here and they also assigned him a staff, and his staff was also from the other realms, but they were more corporeal. Look in that book, it talks about that and how they were actually reproducing also. All right, so that kind of leads you to something else, and Caligastia defaulted, as did Adam and Eve, according to this book. Now, taking this and kind of tuning it up a level, all right, I want to compare this to something, and that's the Sumerian tablets. The great Enki and Enlil story that everybody talks about all the time, the Anunnaki, and that seems to be really the happening thing. Now, with all due respect, everyone I've talked to has derived their idea of the Anunnaki, and they were mining gold, and they were against Enlil and Enki. That whole story really originates with Zecharia Sitchin and his books, 12th Planet especially, I do believe. I read a couple of them. And it's good, okay? It's a good interpretation of the Sumerian tablets. That doesn't mean it's the only one. It doesn't mean it's the correct one. All right? So much of our history has been annihilated that we're trying to piece together that I think searching through some of the documents that have been left are worthy. All right? Now, concerning this, what I'm saying is that Enki was actually Adam. And his wife, I can't pronounce the word, so please, somebody's going to make sure to tell me that. Sugo, his wife was actually Eve. All right, these are the same beings. When you look at this Urantia book, especially, and I've already shown you some pictures. All right, we're going to flash some of them up here. Some of it would be what we see Enki doing. One is this picture of him. Hopefully this comes up here now. If not, it's going to be the beginning and the end, which is him standing with his brother, his wife standing behind him, and they're standing in a fountain, and then there's another being on the other side. All right, but when he's standing there, he's standing kind of with his knee up on like a step, and coming off of him, like several of these illustrations, coming off his shoulders is water. It looks like a waterfall coming out, and within the waterfall are these little fishes. And a lot of people said, "Oh, it's supposed to represent God." No, I think it's supposed to represent sperm. And I think they called that Enki was one of the things he was god of water. No, maybe it was god of spermicidal type of action, okay? And what you see, I believe, in that picture is him, Adam and Eve, Enki and Nesujiro actually getting their briefing to be biological uplifters. That's what you're seeing in that picture, I believe. Taking it a step forward, I find there's another picture, I'll flash that too, where you've got Enki there and someone bringing him what looks like a human female and a baby, all right? And he's standing there, and behind him is an individual looking with what looks like he's working with test tubes. Okay, now, in this book, that I have to put aside my prejudices and go through the information. On this book, on page 851, it specifically says that after the default of Adam and Eve, that when they went to a second garden, they talk about not just one Garden of Eden, but that being destroyed and a second one being made. They talk about them going there, and before Adam dies, he impregnates with his life plasm, getting too excited. 1,682 women impregnated with his germplasm to make sure to try to upgrade the biological, even though they had failed, the biological uplifting of the species here. Now, in that glyph, I believe that's what you're seeing there also. So this is the same thing that we're seeing. Now, if you want to take that, and as supposedly Enki and Enlil were Anunnaki, if you look at this book, you want to read what they say about the origin of the material sons and material daughters of creation. It's in the section titled Planetary Atoms. Oh, I thought I wrote that down, what page it was. Well, sorry, you got to do the research and look that up yourself. The planetary atoms, they describe how these beings are created on one of these spheres, Urantia, the system capital, okay, and some of the evolutions that they go through spiritually. I think that's important. And man, it's awful detailed. everything in here. And we start talking about right now ancient aliens versus people's religions. You know, ancient aliens, there's a war that went on, and there was these beings that came down here and impregnated man, and, you know, they talk about the fallen angels and all this and that. We have all these stories about the Anunnaki. But, you know, to me, what I'm seeing in here, when you start reading deeper into this, things like they start talking about the Adamites and the descendants of these beings. Just remind you, they said, first of all, that the material daughters and fathers are between their physical stature on physical planets is between 8 and 10 feet and a little taller sometimes. All right. So, and that they were violet. I don't think they were violet. I thought they were a type of black. All right. They were melanin dominant. I think that's what this book is trying to mow over, is that. All right. That they were actually not just violet, but they were a type of melanin dominant black. So this, I think, is saying a lot more when it talks about these different beings, where they're coming from, which isn't the places that we're so normally associating with. Okay, they're different places. How these beings are coming here and reproducing and interacting and upgrading our genetics. This is just like what, when you hear Linda Moulton Howe and people saying that we're another model of Homo sapien being upgraded again and again. They talk about this here and where they come from. It's not just speculation as much as the Ancient Aliens TV show is. It's just about the same. So why not check out the information, all right? And I'm just saying I don't see any other documented evidence or documented resource that is saying the things this book is saying concerning who these different beings were, where they were from, and some specifics. A lot of specifics. So once again, I remove my prejudice to go through that. Something else I want to start addressing here, and maybe what factors in with what we're seeing on some of these Sumerian tablets also, which is when you see on some of these pictures, Enlil looks a little shorter than Enki, or it's Marduk, maybe Marduk they're trying to show there. Either way, I think that shorter being and this war between these two brothers is actually represent of what this book calls the Nodite race, okay, from Nod. And fascinating because they call the Nodites also in this book the Nephilim, which were the offspring of the prince's staff when these partially material beings, physical, but more than that with these sustenance that was more, okay, how they were mating with people. Let me throw that in too. Boom. Oh yeah, I almost forgot that. In some of these pictures, you'll see between Enki and Enlil, or between Enki and his wife, or near them is this bush. It's some type of a bush, a plant. That in this book is called the Tree of Life. And that is supposed to be a shrub that came from Urantia, the system headquarters, and it fills them with some type of a substance that is like natural God energy, prana, natural orgone, and keeps them immortal. So as long as they partook of that, they were immortal to a degree. Now, the same thing is said, Adam and Eve, when they came here, they were able to eat of the same shrub, and that shrub was kept and eaten. So coincidentally, when you look at these Sumerian things, you see several times, you see these bushes around them, this tree, and also you see sometimes pictures of Enki holding a piece of it, because they were eating that all the time. So anyway, that's just something else in that book that kind of, I think, correlates in. And we're going back to the Nodite race. They would be just a little smaller than the ones with the original germplasm, like Adam and them. So they would have started getting smaller. And I'm going to take and do another video on Globuke Tempe and how I think they talk about that in here too, but that's another video. Anyway, let me look over my notes real quick because I've been real excited doing this. But I think that this is research you can do for itself. Grab that book, check it out, try to take out of the fact that they're just omitting the fact that these were black people, okay, and these are melanin dominant people, and they're doing every other color except for melanin dominant black. Everything but that in this book, and that's where the deception comes in. But if you remove that and look at what they're saying about the actual beings themselves and how they interbred with humanity, it says a lot about what Ancient Aliens going into right now. Period. Okay, anyway, I think that's most of it. I'm excited here. So check this out for yourself. Look, it doesn't matter if you like my presentation style. It doesn't like if you like me or not, because it's not about me. This is about the information. Check out the tablets yourself. Check out these pictures I'm showing. check out this book and compare it to what you're being told from that's just strictly one or two people, that their viewpoint that can be skewed, that dominates this mainstream. So we've got a piece of work right here that's very good. I'll tell you what. Page 485, it describes Urantia very much, the world that is our system capital. So check that out. Some pictures up here. Do your own research. Thank you all for supporting. Please subscribe if you have not. I appreciate the encouragement to keep going with these videos. It's from the people on Patreon. If it wasn't for you, I would have stopped doing videos a while ago. So thank you for helping out and supporting me there. It does more than what you think. So, peace.